The Arnold Clark Reel sale is now on.
Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer on our YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. We're looking back over 2018. Alan Rough is alongside me. It's hard to believe another year has passed for us, Ruffy. 6 years together. It's quite remarkable, really, isn't it?
Yes, it's fantastic. But again, this year we've brought a few old and new players onto the show, and it's been really exciting with some of the stories they've got to tell.
Yep, we've had some good guests along the way, and of course more than a few laughs, some serious topics too, and we've witnessed Celtic winning a double treble in that period of time. We've also welcomed Steven Gerrard as Rangers manager. We've fretted over Scotland's ability to get to the top of the Nations League, which eventually they did. There's been more than a few highlights and lowlights. It's been the most unusual season ever. You know, the end of one season and the start of 2018-2019 season, Ruffy, on the basis that Scottish football seems to have a great habit of shooting itself in the foot.
Yeah, there certainly has been a lot of things happen through the season, but on the footballing side, I think the good thing about it is that everybody has looked at the success that Celtic have had over the last 2 years and said, let's try and do something about it. And certainly some of them have.
Yeah, and of course, it was a year where your old team, Partick Thistle, got relegated, just couldn't stay up in the end.
No, I think Alan Archibald did a tremendous job at the time he was there, but again, he's not the first team that's been relegated. What you have to do is learn from your mistakes and come back stronger.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, lots to talk about, lots to look back over as well. Of course, we always like to talk about certain players that we hope are going to emerge into the first team, especially youngsters, talented Scottish youngsters especially. One such player was Scott Wright, who actually put in a good performance. And then Ruffy was pleased that he wasn't quite a man of ill repute or got up to any nonsense. This is Scott Wright, of course, we're talking about, the Aberdeen player. For me, I think he could be a star of the future. I hope he is.
Yeah, well, I've heard these stories about him as well, you know, that he's got a very, very good background with his family, and sometimes that can take your eye off the ball. But the good thing about it is once you get picked for select teams like this, you're now rubbing your shoulders with other guys, and you would, if you've got any sense at all in your head, you say, well, I want to be as good as them. I want to pull this jersey on.
I love the way you brilliantly skirted around that. You know, he says, you know, he's got a really settled family. It's Ruffy's way of saying he's not a nutter, and his family are not nutters either.
And he's meant it.
Exactly. That's honestly, I can read his mind there. Yeah, Ruffy, it's always good to know that somebody's character's good as well. You like to check on them. You like to do a background check, don't you?
Well, any time I saw the young lad, he looks as if he's got his head screwed on the right way. You know, I think Aberdeen thought he was really going to burst into that Aberdeen side. He'd scored a couple of terrific goals, and he looked as if he was one of these young players that was heading in the right direction.
Yeah, of course, the tail end of last season, I mentioned it was a double treble for Celtic. Rangers were still going through this period of uncertainty. One manager again that they'd hired, Pedro Caixinha, hadn't worked out. Graham Murty stepped up to the plate. We had Graham on the show. In the end, he watched Celtic land another title. He couldn't do anything to stop Brendan Rodgers' juggernaut. Yeah,
unfortunately for the Rangers managers, it wasn't what was happening on the park, it was off the park as well. And we look at what the Rangers have been left with, you know, with the Mexican players there, the money they're still paying out, and it's an awful lot of money. So yeah, I think the managers, any manager coming into Rangers just wants to concentrate on the football.
Yeah, and the one highlight, I think, and the one key element of Celtic's success under Brendan Rodgers has been his unwavering backing of Scott Brown as captain.
Yeah, again, you know, Scott Brown has, I think he's matured year on year. You know, I think Brendan Rodgers' introduction to Celtic has made him go that way. I think he's made him a better player. He's obviously got a style that he's got to play on the park, and he lets everybody else do their own thing.
And of course, he liked the odd sherbet on a night out and the odd kebab as well. We've all been there, haven't we?
I think Scott Brown's been very, very fortunate that he's had decent managers who have hauled him in. You know, there have been times when we've all sat here and went, but the managers who have come in and looked after him have he seemed to have gelled with every manager he's worked with.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, Ruffy, trust you to bring that up. I mean, let's not knock a kebab outside Waverley Station in Edinburgh. I've done it myself, Ruffy. You know, you get the kebab, you look for a taxi, I'm there. I didn't even criticise him when I saw that photograph. Fair play to you, get on with it. Yeah, Scott Brown, he's had a few back page and front page headlines as well, Ruffy, but for me, when you look at a man that's been there, you know, a decade, 500 appearances for Celtic, he's been phenomenal for them. And in fact, when you look at his medal haul, he'll go down as one of those legendary Celtic players.
Yeah, I think he has to. You know, he's been the captain for a long time now. And as I said earlier, he's leading by example. You don't get the corner kebab shop carry on now. I think if he looks back on that, he'll see where he went wrong. But as a captain of Celtic, I think he has been very, very influential in everything that Celtic's done.
Yep, absolutely. Over the course of the season, we've had a few special guests in the studio, a few special programmes as well. One of them was with Alec Gordon, who came in to talk about his book In Praise of Caesar. Of course, you highlighted, Ruffy, that Billy actually signed you.
Yes, he certainly did. I was over in America when he phoned me up and asked me, did I want to come back? Pat Bonner was going to be out for a wee while. And just everything you'd heard about the guy, you just couldn't turn it down. And even when I got back home, and I think any player, when he walks through that dressing room door, he has that presence about him, that respect that everybody wants to do well for him.
Yep, absolutely. Even Ruffy for all those appearances for Celtic in season 89-90, is that right? Was it 89?
88, 89,
88,
I think.
89, yeah. Did you win anything?
No, but I got another European tie under my belt. That made it 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's 2 more than many others who would have died for the opportunity. As far as our guests on a regular basis on the show, Ruffy, I think over the course of 2018, we wouldn't be anywhere without yourself, Gordon Smith, as ever. You know, the 6 years, I think Gordon's been with us all those 6 years. Hugh McDonald and Barry Ferguson was a new signing.
Yes, he certainly was, and Barry obviously came in, you know, and took him a wee while to settle in, you know. I think obviously, but now he's enjoying it and he's relaxing a wee bit more, and he likes a bit of banter as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been trying to get him on social media.
The main games have got to be played at Hampden, and that's me not being disrespectful to Murrayfield. It's a fantastic stadium, but that's rugby stadium for me, and we keep our football through in Glasgow at Hampden.
Okay. Don't forget, if you're really angry about that and you live anywhere other than Glasgow, it's at Barry Ferguson on Twitter. No, I'm only kidding you because he's too scared to have a Twitter account yet. Ruffy, we're trying to coax him, but he's not budging at the moment.
Quite rightly as well.
No.
Yeah.
Do you want me to be on the show during the week? Yeah?
Well, the reason why Ruffy's saying quite rightly is Ruffy's got a Twitter account, but he can't use his phone, can't text, and he's got no chance of answering anybody back. Although you do have a Twitter account, just out of curiosity. You don't strike me as a person. You're like him. You know, the last thing you two need is the truth. Can't see that happening, Ruffy. I mean, the abuse itself, I mean, he'd have to get used to it. There are some people who can handle social media and the abuse that comes with it. You know, it's very rare that you actually, when you look at the percentages where people say, that was really great what you said, I really like you.
Yeah, I think obviously if you're part of the old firm, I don't think it's going to be 100% well done. I think there are people obviously going to have a wee bit of dig at you, but you've got to be able to handle it. And I think the experienced ones do.
Yep, he's been a welcome addition to the team, and of course every now and then we like to make him feel right at home, and we brought on his teammate Lee McCulloch, who just likes to remind Barry of what it's like to score a really big goal against Celtic at Celtic Park.
To score against your biggest rivals into the Rangers end is fantastic. I know you've done it on a couple of occasions at Hampden and I meant at Ibrox. And yeah, free kick at Hampden obviously it must have been a tremendous feeling, but it's always good to score against your biggest rivals. Yeah. Even with Wigan when scoring against Bolton and stuff.
Oh yeah, they were the games that we all tuned into.
Them?
Yeah. One of the amazing things over 2018, Ruffy, that certainly caught my eye was Kenny Miller. I don't think he was treated well at the tail end of his career at Rangers, along with Lee Wallace. I think it ended poorly. I'm sure there's a book to come. I'm sure there's a story to tell along the way. But lo and behold, he ended up getting himself quite a good deal at Dundee.
Yes, and I think it just shows you for a young player or any player, if you look after yourself, you can play till you're 40, you know, and obviously we know what Kenny can do, score goals in every team he's been at, and he's still scoring goals yet, and it was a fantastic move for him to keep playing.
Yeah, and just in case you weren't sure of the maths, Ruffy keeps you up to date with that sort of stat on the programme. Kenny Miller, 38 years of age, signs a 2-year deal at Dundee. Ruffy, he reminds me a bit of yourself because if he jumped out the window, he'd got away with a salmon in his pocket. 38-year-old, 2-year deal.
Well, he's got a few salmon in the 2-year deal for a guy his age, you know. If he was to complete the 2-year deal, obviously my mathematics would make him 40. But
That's great. That's just a great insight from you. You can't buy that, Barry.
and there's not many.
Yeah, Celtic and Rangers getting into Europe is something that has dominated our thoughts, Ruffy. When we looked at the Europa League draws, we were getting excited about it. I looked at both halves of the draw and I thought to myself, Celtic and Rangers could be in for some sticky games.
Yes, and I think obviously Celtic dropping into the Europa had to deal with that. As far as you're a Rangers supporter, you'd welcome a European tie, and that's what they've done. They've been good games that they've played, and I think we just have to keep looking forward to see how far Celtic can go.
Yep, only Celtic remaining in the Europa League, but when it actually all came out who they would be playing, then you just couldn't contain the excitement of Barry Ferguson on the show.
Just now, it doesn't really excite you from looking in. I mean, we're not all neutrals, but for the guys, you know, like Barry.
I'm buzzing. back in Europe.
Yeah.
Barry,
did you just announce there, Ruffy, that everybody's neutral in the studio? Yeah.
Well, Partick Thistle are in the Europa Cup, are they?
Now, the one thing that's a priority on this programme, Ruffy, is to always remind people that you've been to 3 World Cups, and I think you've got to admit you take great delight in leathering a former Scotland captain. Is that fair?
Yes, yeah. I think you've got to have a wee bit of banter. You know, I can't challenge Barry on anything he's done club level. He's played in European football, captained his country, but obviously when is one thing you can get on him, you can't let him away with it.
No, absolutely not. And Ruffy hit him with both barrels, of course, on the basis that he knew that the lady sitting next to Barry Ferguson was heading to the World Cup as well. I'm talking, of course, about Leanne Crichton. 3 World Cups, we always have a laugh about it. But what advice would you give to Leanne when she's possibly going to France with her teammates?
No, I think it's actually good for this. It's actually good for the show that next year there'll be 2 of us. I've been to World Cups and Barry's not been. No, it's a fantastic.
I might go next year, Moisley and.
Oh, I mean, we've got to go, Ruffy, and support her.
It's fantastic. France will be great.
You would think, Ruffy, you'd have let him off the hook at some point, but never mind just getting to 1 World Cup. You know, Barry couldn't even get back on you when you'd been to 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah, I mean, you could see the disappointment in his voice, you know, but obviously when had another would-be World Cup person getting to the show, getting there, you know, you could see Barry was hurting a wee bit, you know, but there might be something he could do, you know, maybe take part in an over 40s World Cup competition might come along. I know it won't be the same for him, but that might be his only chance now.
Yeah, I think maybe 6-a-sides is probably his best opportunity, to be honest with you, Ruffy. Certainly after the last battering you gave him, he was on the ropes.
No, I think, and Barry might agree, I think players respond to when you're away, and if you beat England or you know, you qualify for a World Cup or something, you're part of the whole team.
He loves the World Cup.
That's why I don't like international break, because it nails you every day.
The players just enjoy it, and they enjoy it even more when you get your second World Cup and then you get your third World Cup.
Right,
It's just a big bonding.
Oh, right. You've had
Change the subject,
Yeah,
please.
absolutely. Let's move on. Ruffy, European trips are always great. I mean, the Rangers fans looked forward to Vienna. They looked forward to going to Spain. They got a great result there. Of course, Celtic had a difficult time in Salzburg and, of course, Leipzig as well. But we certainly enjoyed ourselves when we had the good fortune to go on European trips. Amsterdam stuck in my mind.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, it was a working experience, but in these working experience, you have a day off. You have to go and relax, you know, enjoy yourself, you know, and see the sights. nights, and that's certainly what we did.
Yeah, absolutely, and you just couldn't take any of it back through customs, as Ruffy kindly pointed out to everyone.
Remember, we went to Amsterdam, and there's cafes, there's restaurants,
Did
there's
we
bars.
go to the football after that? I can't remember. Did we
Yeah,
bother?
we did. Yeah, we did.
Well, we're not window shopping and then we just chucked it.
No, that was in the afternoon. Some of us went out spending and buying things, but just go to watch.
Where are you going, Ruffy?
Just got to watch what you buy. You don't get back into the country. No.
We've been to a few things over the course of the year. Is there anything that sticks out in your mind as a great game, Ruffy, that you thoroughly enjoyed, or even something else just out of left field?
No, I thought the European games that we got the chance to go to, fantastic nights. You can see why sets of supporters love these nights, Rangers and Celtic, and I just think it's great to get out and see great players and players raising their game in these big games.
Yeah, we always like to go and see the odd show that comes out. Of course, we wanted to get Barry to the Celtic musical because I think, to see Barry there and the faces of the Celtic fans on that occasion would have been something priceless, but he wasn't biting, Ruffy, was he?
I can see why. I don't think wherever that had been held, he would have got alive. But fair dues to him, he went along with it, but that was never going to happen.
Yeah, it's just that picture we painted of him jumping out of a Celtic cake. And of course, every now and then, Ruffy, I like to mention on the programme something that you haven't featured in and you can't lay claim to. Of course, you played for Celtic 1989. I don't think you feature in the Celtic musical. Barry was in it. One of our journalists told us they were at the Celtic musical, and Fergie makes an appearance. Roundly booed, I have to say, at the pavilion, but must be a great honour to be in it.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised I get booed, but I'm surprised they've not asked me to go in and make a guest appearance. I'm disappointed in that.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually the feature of these things when you get these musicals, just to get somebody in who'll make a guest appearance. I would love to be a fly in the wall, Ruffy, when he walked out with you.
Yeah, I think in the old the Celtic musical, it used to be at the end when there was a cake get wheeled out and one of the Lisbon Lions would pop out, the cake. I think that'd be a great, I'd love to see the look in everybody's face when you popped out.
It'd be about 30 seconds of shock, and then all hell would let loose.
I'll be away in that 30 seconds. I'd be right off that stage.
Yeah. Ruffy, I'm looking at a couple of things that caught my eye over the course of the season. I thought Liverpool getting to the Champions League final was fantastic. Again, just come undone, really, with the save, the lack of save, I think, from Karius. That really done them in, didn't it?
Yeah, it certainly did. And obviously being a past goalkeeper, felt for him, that it's something in your career you don't want to happen, particularly at that level, and he's had to deal with it. I mean, he's just disappeared now, and that just shows you when you're a goalkeeper, you just can't afford to make mistakes at that high level. Yeah.
The manager of the year, the player of the year, the young player of the year, these are things that always really catch your imagination. We are lucky enough that we get to go to the big awards ceremony. The whole team heads out there to the Hilton. Jack Ross picked it up before he said goodbye to Scottish football.
Yeah, again, for me, that I have to say that was a surprise to me. Nothing to do with what Jack had done in the game, but obviously with Brendan Rodgers winning the double treble, I thought that was a stick on. But no, a young manager coming through and being very, very successful. I can see why other managers voted for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all subjective, really, which is probably why Stevie Cowan and yourself reflected on one manager in particular deciding to let both of you go while you still thought you had a couple of years to offer at Hibs.
Funny stories I like, about Ruffy. I mean, remember we lost the League Cup final, and on the bus after it, we're all sitting, heads down and all that. And Alan comes on, case of champagne, and says, "Get the heads up, lads, we're going to celebrate anyway." And away we went. But I think that was brilliant in bringing out all the other players out themselves. And Ruffy done that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I only gave him 6. It was 2 cases.
I knew there had to be an angle for you. And wouldn't it be great if he could do that for the team he's with now here at PLZ Soccer? I haven't seen the champagne. Yeah, so Scott Brown picked up the Player of the Year. Were you happy with that in 2018?
Yeah, I think he, as I said earlier, I think he had rejuvenated himself. You know, I thought he was a mainstay in the Celtic team, particularly in European nights, and his level of performances, although he was carrying wee injuries here and there, he still gave 100%. You could see that coming through.
Yeah, Kieran Tierney picked up the Young Player of the Year. Then we started a new season, Ruffy, with high hopes right across the board. Every club was looking to strengthen. If anything, right at the end of the summer transfer window, I think the Celtic fans would have been the most displeased of all to lose Moussa Dembele on the last day of the transfer window. I think it certainly took away a bit of strength in the striking department, which, you know, came back to bite them a little later on in the season. But over and above that, they weren't really able to bring in anyone of note.
No, and I think it's the first time the Celtic fans saw the manager being extremely upset about what had happened. I'm sure he did try to bring in 2 or 3 players, but it never happened. So, in all fairness, he got his head down, and I think the Celtic supporters will be now waiting in January, because the same thing won't happen again.
Yep, it's going to be interesting, because the one thing we have, Ruffy, and I think it's great as we approach the end of 2018, we've got a title race on.
Yeah, we certainly have, and full praise to Kilmarnock. You know, I didn't see that. I knew there would be a top 6 side, but I didn't see them up where they are just now. They're just getting about their business. Obviously, Rangers are a much better side and challenging. Big games coming up, the Aberdeen games, the Rangers games. All these games are going to be massive for obviously us watching them.
Yep, that second half of the season could be so decisive. Do you think those games in the second half of the season against the big teams against each other will be decisive?
Yeah, well, I think we saw it the year when Aberdeen were challenging Celtic and Rangers as well. I think Rangers took 10, 12 points off them in certain games. These were defining moments. So I think the big teams that can take the more points off the challengers will be the team that will win it.
Yep, and if you score a special goal in games like that, you never really forget it. Of course, Barry was reflecting on scoring a goal against Celtic and running towards the Celtic fans and then quickly realising the error of his ways. You scored a few goals against Celtic. Did you ever? I think I remember one. It was a daisy cutter that you put in the back of the net, and then you ran towards the Celtic, and then obviously because, you know, knowing you as I do, you're spineless, you started to run away.
Well, I remember I was getting a bit too close. I veered off to the left. I used my head there. I was just going to run up in front of them. I thought, no, I don't think that's a good idea.
I don't mind that though, do you?
Well, listen, you've just got to keep your distance, which I've done. I kept at least 15, 20 yards, and I made way for the Rangers fans. But
must be great, Ruffy, scoring in an Old Firm game, something that Barry remembers forever and a day.
Yeah, I think you just have to look at Old Firm players. When they do score in these games, it's just the highlight of their career. But as Barry said, you've got to be careful. You don't want to get too near the opposition fans. Might not be able to come back into the park again.
Yeah. Do you think the games in this season will be decisive? The likes of Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, Kilmarnock, they're all in the mix now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think unfortunately for the likes of Rangers, Aberdeen, Hibs and Hearts, unfortunately I think they'll all take points off of each other, and the consistency that Celtic seem to have at the crunch will see them through.
Well, they're going for a treble. You think they'll win the title? Do you think they'll bag the Scottish Cup? Or is that one maybe where some other club could look at silverware?
Yeah, that's where the other clubs will be looking at. A one-off game, you know, and catching Celtic on the hop and their players playing to the top of the level. I think that's the only chance they've got.
Yeah, if I look over 2018, the one great thing about Scottish football, slowly but surely on the up. It's a slow graph here, heading upwards, Ruffy, coming out of the gutter of the last, 5, possibly 10 years. But when you look at the calibre of managers that we have on show, you know, you've got Craig Levein trying to rejuvenate Hearts in a fabulous stadium. You've got Neil Lennon there working wonders at Hibernian. You've got Brendan Rodgers. Steven Gerrard has galvanised Rangers and, of course, brought the focus of attention onto Scottish football. There are so many good managers in there. It's great to see.
Yeah, I think it's great. But for me, Stevie Clarke at Kilmarnock is the man at this precise moment. I think has given everybody a lot of enjoyment, particularly Kilmarnock fans who have been struggling for 2 or 3 years. For me, Kilmarnock are the team of the season so far, but that could change very quickly.
Yeah, so to say farewell, Ruffy, to 2018, your predictions as a man who's obviously putting himself out there as a prophet. It's Celtic in the quest for a treble. Who wins the title?
I think I'm going to go for Celtic, but basically because they know how to go over the line.
And who wins the Scottish Cup in your mind?
Scottish Cup could be a surprise for me. I'm going with Derek McInnes. I think he thinks his team on the day can get that Scottish Cup win, and I think it'd be good for Aberdeen.
Okay, we've had a few ups and downs on the programme, but thankfully you've stayed with us. I hope that you will stay with us in 2019, bigger and better things on the horizon, and of course our focus on Scottish football undiminished. You can join Peter, Ruffy and of course our supporting cast as ever. We wouldn't be anywhere without them. Hugh McDonald, Gordon Smith, Barry Ferguson. Also, we've welcomed a few other special guests, Alison McConnell joining us too, as well as, let's not forget, Leanne Crichton as ever, giving us an insight into not only the women's game but our view on all of football. They'll be all with us in 2019. Hopefully you will as well. From Ruffy and myself, thanks for watching the football show all the way through 2018.
The Arnold Clark Reel sale is now on.
Welcome to PLZ Soccer. Why not join the football family and download the PLZ app? You'll get all the latest Scottish football news and up-to-date news on English and world football. There's also a feature here where you can record yourself talking about your favourite team. If we use the video, you could feature on our football show. For all the latest news in Scottish football, download the PLZ Soccer app in the App Store and in Google Play. Come and join the football family on PLZ Soccer.